Life. I don't even know what do I say to properly describe it because it's a very simple yet a very complex thing to define. Still, many great personalities and philosophers from the past have interpreted life according to their own terms, where some said life is a sweet gift, some said life is a bitter suffering, others said life is a mystery, and then the other said life is nothing. It's totally meaningless. Though I'm not very much qualified to comment on any of those claims to either prove them right or wrong, but the fact that I have been gifted with this gift called life, and after living it for a couple of decades where I enjoyed some years, suffered for some years, and stayed clueless for so many years. So after going through all these experiences of life, I can say one thing, that life doesn't follow any patterns. I mean, of course, apart from some obvious patterns like birth, aging, and death. You see, more than the life as a whole, it's the growing up process, which is another aspect of life that doesn't follow any pattern. Because growing up isn't a straight line or a linear process, nor it is a gradual process. The chart that may sort of resemble what growing up process is like would be the stock market chart, that is sometimes up, signifying you get mature, sometimes down, signifying you get double immature, with the chart having ability to teleport back and run in a loop till a person has learned his lesson. And I'm telling all this because in life there are many conflicts, mostly inner conflicts, that you feel like you have overcome after deep introspect and coming in terms with yourself, like you think you have moved on from your ex, but you haven't. Well, jokes aside, because this thing is a serious issue, because this thing has ruined the peace of my mind and tranquility of my life for so many years, as there had been many such conflicts that I was so stuck into them that they had me mentally so screwed for so many years of my life. But for a brief moment, it felt like I had overcome those conflicts as they stopped mattering to me anymore. But to my surprise, they are back, and now I'm once again restuck in the same old conflict that I had once overcome. And it all starts from one of the very first conflict of my life, which is the birthplace. You see, during the very ancient time, even before the birth of the Lord Jesus Christ, at that time, in this area which currently falls under our country, one of the greatest personality ever was born here, who later on in his life became the symbol of peace, love, and compassion. But the sad part is that the symbol of peace has currently become the reason for conflict, hate, and sometimes violence between two countries. Hence, that's why I'm not gonna mention his name, because if I do, that might start another war in the comment section. So I also request you to not mention his name, even if you decode who I'm referring to. So that aside, and to explain in short why he has become such a reason for conflict and hatred between two countries, is because though his birthplace currently comes under our country's territory, but he was born in very ancient time, and at that time there was no concept of modern day countries as today. There were empires and kingdoms instead, who considered themselves as a sovereign entity. And during different eras, different empire and kingdoms had the birthplace under their territory. Again, as already said, there was no concept of modern day country during that time. And when the concept of country did exist, the birthplace was already under our country's territory. I mean, it's pretty difficult to pinpoint exact historical dates due to both countries being divided into numerous kingdoms. Therefore, disregarding all that complexity and focusing only on official documented diplomatic events in history, such as declaration of this or that. And in that case, it's worth noting that our neighboring country was founded much later than us. In fact, it hasn't even been 80 years since their declaration of independence as a sovereign nation, whereas our country is the oldest country of this region. Till this point, things are clear on what belongs to whom and whose. So now let's move on to the thing that is the root cause of all this hatred and conflict between two countries. You see, despite he was born in the territory that belongs to our country, but to become the great personality that he is considered today, he had to escape the kingdom that was in this region at that time. So he went towards south direction and did the things to become such great personality, and started preaching his knowledge and message of love, peace, and compassion there. And those places where he did good deeds and preached his knowledge comes under our neighboring country. And that is the root cause of all this conflict. He was born here, but did all the things that made him world-renowned there. Therefore, him being such a great personality, that him belonging to a certain nation really adds up prestige and pride to that nation. Moreover, since he spent a significant portion of his life in areas which are now located in our neighboring country, it became like an opportunity for them to completely claim him as theirs. And they claim him as all theirs by covering up the truth of him being born in our country, by making exact replica of his birthplace in their nation, which originally is located in our country. But our neighboring country has more soft power and influence over the world than compared to us, so they started preaching and promoting him as theirs in such a way that it feels like the lie has been told so many times that it has become the truth. That now on international level, you would be deemed wrong and questioned if you try to correct people saying, no, that's not where he was born. I still remember all the conflicts, fight and bashing one another this issue has caused back in the day when a TV series was made on his life by our neighboring country and they had shown that he was born there, and the chaos it had caused, leading to all the TV channels from neighboring country being banned in our country, with rallies on the street showcasing the disapproval of people here for the depiction of him being born there. Plus, with it being the biggest national issue of that time, so all the news anchor used to 24/7 pass the neighboring country by saying all the type of good and bad stuff for showing him as theirs. And young me, being a proud nationalist, used to support those news anchors and enjoy whenever they used to bash the neighboring country for claiming him as theirs. Because patriotism, also the truth that he was actually born here. He's our national pride. You can't just steal our national pride like that. And this is not the only thing from our history that we people can be proud upon, being claimed by the neighboring country as theirs just because they have more global influence. It's kind of like a proud historical heritage or stuff of Ireland being labeled as British history just because Britain has more global influence than Ireland. Also, I've gone so many sleepless nights being frustrated and pissed off on the fact, why did he have to run away from the kingdom and move towards south direction to the territories that currently fall under our neighboring country? Only if he had gone towards any direction but south, there wouldn't be this conflict at all. Regardless, this thing of protest and bashing had become like a recurring event, as every once in a while a politician from a neighboring country used to claim he is ours, he was born in our country on an international media, and with that statement, the controversy used to resurface, leading to protests and news anchors bashing 24/7 once again. Therefore, with that routine, many years passed and the age of the internet began. With that, the conflict too shifted from the traditional TV news channels to social media. But when it shifted to social media, there was a huge difference in this conflict, which made me realize how badly this conflict had poisoned the society. Because back then, when news anchors used to criticize or bash the neighboring country for claiming him as theirs, at least they used to have some dignity and a level of respect and professionalism in their criticism. While in social media, people be saying the lowest to lowest level of derogatory remarks to one another. For someone who preached peace, love, forgiveness, and compassion his whole life, and witnessing such atrocities on social media genuinely hit me on how could the symbol of peace literally be the cause and reason for the conflict, hate, and fight between the people. It's like his existence itself is the biggest hindrance to his teachings and message. I mean, deep inside, I kind of knew why things are like this. And it's because, you see, our country is a very diverse nation and different communities live here with their various different ideologies and philosophies, with certain communities also having their philosophy as in like stuff are only one and their way is the perfect way and the only right way. And I don't know if it's the fear of offending them or some sort of appeasement politics that our country backs away from endorsing like the literally one of the best philosophies in the world regarding almost each and every aspect of life, which was founded by the son of this land for his fellow people of here and people around the world. Or long story short, our country has like adopted secular framework due to what? Now you can't preach his message because you gotta keep everyone happy by turning a blind eye onto every prosperous thing his message has to offer. as you can't preach his message, so the only thing left that you can be proud upon is the fact that he was born here, which in a way directly or indirectly led to people being unable to solve this issue peacefully. Nonetheless, coming back to the topic, that after witnessing so much hate for one another in his name, I kept aside my patriotism and started learning about him, on what were his exact core teachings and how would he have wanted us to deal with this issue. So I went in to study, and after all the studying I did, I realized that he would be crying the tears of blood if he were alive today, seeing us fighting and spreading hate against one another in his name. Since then, I stopped caring about whoever said whatever regarding where he was born. I just kept following his teachings of do no bad, love everybody, and pray and wish for everyone's well-being. And I wish I could end this video on this note saying, and I lived happily ever after. But the sad part is that those things have now once again started mattering to me. I now once again care about what people say where he was born. However, before this feeling returned back, I genuinely didn't care wherever people claimed he was born for like more than half a decade to almost a decade. Therefore, to decode why it again started mattering to me, we would have to talk about the very first topic we discussed, which is growing up. I mean, it's well known that growing up is a really complex phenomena to describe, but when I broke it down to understand its core, I came to the conclusion that, for me, growing up is the process of letting go of what I thought was mine. And in my case, this growing up was me letting go of this philosophy and mindset that I thought was gonna help me attain the most prosperous life if I followed it fully from A to Z. Though I lived almost a decade of my life following his paths and principles, even now, I haven't completely detached myself from his philosophy because it literally is one of the best philosophy to live a life by. The only downside is that this philosophy believes everyone in the world is a good person and under no circumstances you should stop being kind to them, which in this era leaves a lot of room for exploitation, kind of like that scene from Jim Carrey's movie Yes Man. But as they say, change is the law of the nature, or change is the only constant. So recently, I've stumbled upon this new philosophy, and philosophies affect me on a very deep personal level, if it makes sense and if I feel connection with it. And I don't know why that happens. Maybe it could be because currently I'm in my literally me phase, or it could be because I've taken Bruce Lee's
Be water, my friend
speech really seriously, that if any new philosophy fulfilled those things I mentioned before, rationality and connection, then I completely adopt and try to become the embodiment of that philosophy. As this new philosophy says, reject that poet's poetry today, who describes the world as a sweet lovely place, because it's not. And if you still keep living in that illusion, then people would only benefit off of you. As the truth is still the truth, even if the whole world denies it, and a lie is still a lie even after the whole world accepts it as the truth. Which in my context connects to the fact that me not caring about others claiming him being born in that country is me doing treason against my motherland, because the reality and truth is that he was actually born here. Still, me not caring about it, thinking that solves the problem, is like, for example, if a bully is bullying someone in front of me and I do nothing about it, then it doesn't mean that I'm neutral. Instead, it signifies that I support the bully by letting him do his deeds. So in this context, me not caring and doing nothing about others claiming our national treasure as theirs is me doing treason against not only my country but also the truth. However, that does not mean now I would go online and argue with everyone on the internet whoever claims him as theirs. No, never. Even in the past, I never did any of that, cause the internet has always been so expensive here. But like, being honest, I don't know, man. I'm just stuck in between ideologies, and now I too am confused on what exactly should I be doing. But the one thing is for sure, and that thing is that this time, this feeling isn't as hardcore as the past. And if I do a little bit of introspect, I believe I can once again overcome this conflict. And that is what I must do, because I know that even if I debate with the whole world, make all the 8 billion people aware of the truth that he was born here, and tell them his glory as in how great of a person he was, or like convert them into his followers, it would still not make him any happier than if I just make one sad person genuinely smile.